They didn't have to show that. They did not have to show the minced meat in the body bag. Like that was... Hi, my name is Emily or La Movie Mija. I'm a part-time filmmaker, full-time movie lover, and tonight we're actually heading over to the theaters because I got a ticket to an advanced screening of one of my most anticipated films of 2025, The Monkey. Let's go. Tonight we're at the Americana AMC in Glendale, California, and if you didn't know, I am indeed an AMC A-list member. Did you know that it practically pays for itself? I'm just kidding. I'll spare you the pitch. It was given to me for my birthday one year, and I haven't looked back. It really is worth the investment for me, and now we're here. I've got my movie snacks, and I'm ready to see The Monkey. Okay, we're back home, so let's talk about the movie. As always, I'll give you my spoiler-free review with my general reactions and recommendation on whether or not you should see the film, and then we'll get into some juicier, finer plot details and my analysis of the movie. Let's get into it. When twin brothers Bill and Hal find their father's old monkey toy in the attic, a series of gruesome deaths start. The siblings decide to throw the toy away and move on with their lives, growing apart over the years. The film is directed by Osgood Perkins and it stars Theo James, Tatiana Maslany, Colin O'Brien, Rohan Campbell, Sarah Levy, Osgood Perkins, and Elijah Wood. If Longlegs had only instances of stilted line delivery and some dark humor, The Monkey has all of that dialed up to 11. Effectively blending horror and comedy, The Monkey threads an exquisite line of anticipation. Sometimes you're gonna get hit with a limb to the face, sometimes you're gonna get hit with the punchline, but either way, this movie doesn't pull any punches. Osgood Perkins continues to flaunt his flair for crafting dread. From the masterful editing and composition in the frame to the nail-biting tension on the page, Perkins somehow knows how to throw a bizarre, creepy, really entertaining party. And this movie is a lot of fun. Teaming up with horror icons James Wan, who produced the film, and Stephen King, who penned the short story that the film is based off of, you've got a trio of horror masters at play. The movie operates like a curse movie, so the setup is really simple. But instead of lunging for the low-hanging fruit of adding backstory and lore to the monkey to explain away its evilness, Perkins smartly pivots to the zany and outrageous, trading logic for pure entertainment. There is a high body count in this movie, and that's coming from me as a horror fan. I've seen some things, I've seen some pretty messed up things, but I was aghast at some of the twisted scenarios they pulled in this movie. I felt like a little girl watching Final Destination for the first time again. And yes, this movie is scary. That monkey was diabolical. I was definitely shook a bit here and there. Perkins has a way with framing and editing that can make anything feel jarring and uncanny. Add in the sound design and the creepy music cues that precede the kills, and it is downright terrifying at times. Even though the monkey itself is not played for laughs, there is that signature dark and ironic humor that you can expect from Perkins. Like I mentioned, you have that stilted line delivery, you have some elements of dark humor and some offbeat dialogue. You also have opportunities for slapstick physical humor. And the tone of the overall comedic elements come from the distance between the horror that the people are experiencing in the film and those trying to just breeze past it aloofly. Is that a word? Like an all too eager real estate agent who is giddy when people die because that just means there's more homes to sell. The cast is not what you'd expect from a horror film, but everyone is fantastic. You have Theo James in the lead, Tatiana Maslany, Elijah Wood, Osgood Perkins himself, Sarah Levy, all actors that we haven't seen too much of lately, or TV actors or comedic actors, but everyone is perfectly cast. They're firing on all cylinders, and they're effectively keeping both horror and comedy in equal footing throughout the film. At just under 100 minutes, the movie moves briskly, ditching some of the emotional high points in the third act for some absolute carnage. Overall, the movie is hilarious, scary, it looks good, it moves well, and it is highly rewatchable. Do yourself a favor and watch this movie with friends or in a crowded theater if you can. There's just something about a creepy toy that always gets me. From Child's Play to this, I don't know. There's just something about my childhood bedroom, imagining all those toys in my room at night. I just don't know how I used to do it. All right, from here on out, we're going to be talking spoilers. So if you haven't seen the film yet, make sure you save this video for later, go watch the film, and come back and hear my thoughts on the movie. Make sure to like and subscribe while you're at it because I post a new movie review every single week, and you can even find more movie news, reviews, and personal insights from me over on TikTok and Instagram at Movie Mija. Okay, let's talk some spoilers. So what does it all mean? Is that monkey really evil? What does it even represent? How does this movie relate to the short story? Well, here's my answer to those questions, plus a breakdown of the themes that I think this movie explores. Plus, I've listed all of the deaths in this movie at the end of the video for fun because there were some seriously creative kills. First, Is the monkey evil? Now, I know I just asked the question, but it's not really the question we should be focusing on. In both the short story and the film, the lore of the monkey is never really explained. We don't get a why or a how, and the ambiguity is purposeful. By removing the reason behind the tragedies the monkey enacts, you intensify the terror. I love that this movie resisted the temptation to add the lore to the monkey or over-explain away its powers. That's especially impressive given that this movie is based on a short story adaptation, so they only had so much to work with from the source material itself. And again, think about it. The scariest thing in your room is whatever is in the shadows. So is the monkey evil? No matter what it is, it's undeniable that that little guy's got a twisted sense of humor. So what does the monkey represent? For this question, let's focus on the film alone, not the short story. In the film, I found it surprising that we spent so much time with Hal and Bill as kids. The first third of this movie is dedicated to this voiceover guided flashback. And the voiceover is important because it's signaling to us that this is from the point of view of Hal, and it's not necessarily the omniscient truth. We are seeing and hearing things through Hal, and so we get these funny momisms from the fantastic Tatiana Maslany complaining about blind dates and stiff socks. I think we spend so much time with them as kids because this is a period of time during which Hal and Bill experience a lot of loss. Coincidentally, this is around the same time they're introduced to the monkey. It's not a toy, but it's intended to look like one. Let's pretend it is a toy. It's not one that is necessarily age appropriate for Hal and Bill at the time that they receive it, signaling that there is an unresolved trauma from when they were even younger. Their dad leaving. To me, Hal isn't diabolical, he isn't murderous, he is coming at this from a place of curiosity. It doesn't fit in their world, but Hal and Bill have so much resentment towards one another that Hal starts to wonder what life would be like without his brother, and he starts to have these really dark thoughts. And I think it's coming more from a place of childlike curiosity than straight up diabolicalness. And when you're young, you feel invincible, you don't understand the consequences to your actions, you don't understand the finality of death or the guilt that you would have to live with or endure after you commit something like murder. So combining the nature of the monkey being like a toy, it's not a toy, and the fact that it enters their lives at a point in which they experience tragedy, to me, the monkey represents regression and arrested development brought on by unresolved trauma. And that is made even more apparent when you consider Hal and Bill and how they operate in adulthood. When we meet older Hal, he is passive, he's working a job as a supermarket clerk, he's removed from all of his family, even from his own son, when he knows from firsthand experience how awful it feels to be left behind by a parent. To make a sad fact even sadder, when we first meet him, he is reading a book by Elijah Wood's character, a professional dad, or someone who has a lot to say about being a dad, even though the movie doesn't make it clear if he actually is one. And he wants to be a father to Petey, but for now, he can only be a dad from a distance. He is haunted by his trauma, unable to live in the present. Like his 20-something boss would say, that sucks. I like that that was his go-to response for everything throughout their small interaction, and it even became his last words when he was undone by his vape. On the other hand, you have twin brother Bill, who is obsessed with getting revenge on Hal. He knows that Hal is the one responsible for their mom's death. He is unable to move on from the loss of their mother, and he is stuck in his own ways. He seems more adrift than Hal, and the most ridiculous evidence of the arrested development that Bill is going through is the altered funeral clothes that he puts together with like flame patterned cloth, putting the jacket together, or it's like a cummerbund. I don't know. It's ridiculous, and he wears it through the last act of the movie. If that is not a cry for help, I don't know what is. So how does this movie relate to the short story? And what were the themes? Well, in both the movie and short story, the focus is on absent fathers. In the film alone, you have Bill and Hal who have a resentment towards each other that's probably stemming from their dad being gone. You have Petey feeling sidelined and forgotten by Hal. And you have the kid with the bangs wanting the monkey because it reminded him of his missing dad. Honestly, that was the subplot that I think I could do without, but it gave us more chances for laughs and carnage. This multifaceted approach to showing the effects of being left behind by a parent really added to the grounded and nuanced exploration of loss that you got from this film. You have this layer of humor in the film that only works if you have a solid foundation of character. Movies like this one and Lisa Frankenstein feel like they were crafted by people who have experienced their own loss, and it's because they did. If you didn't know, writer-director Osgood Perkins is the son of two famous artists in their own rights. His father was Anthony Perkins, a famous actor known for his portrayal of Norman Bates in the movie Psycho. And his mother was Barry Berenson, a noted photographer. Tragically, Anthony Perkins died from complications with AIDS in 1992, a diagnosis most of his family wasn't aware of before his passing. And almost 9 years later to the date, his mother died as a passenger aboard one of the planes that were hijacked on 9/11. In a way, it makes sense that a movie like this would be born from the experience of processing the confusion, the anger, anger, the bewilderment that comes from such senseless tragedies. It's very similar to the question of predetermination, destiny versus free will. And in the case of both questions, I don't think the goal is ever to find the absolute answer to those questions, because I don't think we're meant to know the answer to those questions. No, I think the goal in asking those questions, the point of even wondering about it, is the path it puts you on towards finding yourself and discovering the people who matter the most to you in the process. And we see that come to fruition in the monkey. Hal effectively breaks the cycle that he has been put on, that parallel timeline that he experienced in childhood with the absence of his father, and now being an absent father of himself, is shattered when he allows Petey to be closer to him. He allows himself to form a bond with his son. He reconciles with his brother, who has had so much resentment towards him his entire life. And he accepts the monkey and the chaos it brings with it. All right, I'm gonna take a little inspiration from my friends at Dead Meat and give you my kill count for this movie, because I was just amazed at the artistry, at the inventiveness, the wackiness, the zaniness that went into every single kill. Every time I thought they were going to zig, they zagged, and everything was surprising. And as a fan of horror and a fan of the stunts and the makeup and everything that goes into making these scenes happen, I was just in awe. I have had the good fortune of working on a few horror films myself, and I can tell you from firsthand experience that those sets are so much fun. You have so many people coming together to make these elaborate art projects, and knowing that there was like an element of Final Destination in this movie, seeing how all of these traps were laid out, this is definitely a team effort, and I just want to praise the crew for the work that they did in this movie. I'll try my best to list every single one that I could remember, but chime in the comments if I missed any. Number 1, we have the harpoon in the pawn shop with our Adam Scott there to witness it all. That was such a surprise cameo, and seeing how all of that like string and the rat and the harpoon getting launched into the shop owner was already shocking enough, but then it retracting and pulling everything out of him was brutal. Number 2 is beheading at Benihana's. Now, I'm not really sure how this exactly played out. Like, did he lose control of his knife while he was chopping the rice? Like, I don't really know the physics of what went down, but it was gruesome, and it reminded me of the opening sequence of Ghost Ship. Number 3, one of the less zany, definitely tragic, but the way they depicted it on screen and in the nightmare sequences was terrifying, was the aneurysm at home from their mother. And that was so sad to witness when we saw Bill's point of view, but then seeing it in the nightmare sequences later was just pure nightmare fuel. Number 4, trampled by horses. Osgood Perkins himself made a cameo in this film as their uncle, and the way he went out was, they didn't have to show that. They did not have to show the minced meat in the body bag. Like, that was... Oh man, I love that Perkins gave himself like one of the worst like aftermaths of murder. That was gross. Number 5, Aunt Ida with the hooks in the face, the fire on the head, and then being impaled by her for sale sign. That was one of the ones that I was like, okay, I am officially on my toes. I was already on alert with all of these kills and like seeing how they played out. I wasn't sure how they were all going to go. They were constantly surprising me. But then we get to this one and I was like, okay, we are out of the depth of predictability. This is insane. Number 6, the pool diver popping. This felt like National Lampoon's Family Vacation if that was like a horror film. Like, you have Chevy Chase's character like ogling some hottie at the pool, and then she just blows up on impact upon diving. Like, girl, her bikini was cute though. Number 7, shotgun realtor. This was our very eager real estate agent who was trying to get into the little closet and the shotgun. You know, I've never seen a rifle or shotgun fired IRL, but I didn't think it would blow people up like that. Like that. What is this movie? Number 8, 9, 10 are from the montage of the neighbor deaths that the real estate agent describes. I might have missed a couple, but I've got the espresso machine meltdown, the golf course cobra, and the lawnmower to the throat. Moving on towards the third act of the film, we have bees in the brain. This is the character that wanted the monkey because it reminded him of his dad. Having all of those bees, or hornets, I shouldn't be able to tell the difference by now. I'm an adult, but I don't know. Were they bees? I think they were hornets. Either way, they went into his body. Okay, that was gross enough, but then they came back out of his body. Number 12, vape in the throat from the grocery store manager, aka Hal's boss, who was just trying to get a cartridge from the vending machine, and like a lot of the dialogue in his movie, his last words were, "That sucks." Number 13, and this one is so delicious because there was a seed planted earlier in the film. You're like, that's not going to come back later. That's not going to mean anything. Earlier in the film, you have the son, Petey, coming into the motel room with a brochure for skydiving lessons, and they also offer weddings, he points out. So we fast forward to the final act, and the monkey is enacting all of this carnage, and one of the first things that we see is the skydivers crash through the ceiling, and it's not just a skydiving instructor we see a groom and a bride. For some of the most ridiculous like payoff ever. Like that was so funny. Like we knew once like we saw the skydiver coming through the ceiling that there might be a wedding party also crashing down, and we got it. Number 14, the immeasurable carnage outside of the building going on through that whole sequence when the monkey just lost his shit. Number 15, bowling ball through cannon. This is another full circle moment, and one of the most elaborate setups for a kill was the bowling ball getting ejected through the cannon, and it comes full circle because we remember in the earlier scenes of the film when Bill and Hal are younger, Hal has these visions of what it would be like to drop a bowling ball on his brother's face while he was sleeping. And what do we get at the end of the film but a bowling ball through a cannon to Bill's face? If we needed a new entry for overkill, I think this would be the perfect example of that. Number 16 and 17 are ones that we saw as Hal and Petey are driving off away from the house after all of the carnage is done. We see someone impaled by a surfboard up against a tree. We also see a woman running with a stroller that is on fire. I can only assume the worst has happened. And number 18, we have the cheerleader bus. The cheerleaders are cheering. We've seen them a little bit throughout the film. One time when the real estate agent was getting wheeled off in her gurney, or at least her body was, and they were cheering. And then we see them cheering, hanging out the side of the bus when a semi-truck comes from opposing traffic and they don't make it. Oh my goodness, those are all the ones that I got to write down. But if I missed any, please let me know. Okay, that is all for now. Thank you so much for watching my video. I hope you check out The Monkey. Let me know if you do. Support an independent horror film. Why not? Make sure you like and subscribe for more videos from me, and I'll see you next time. Bye!